Welcome to the Kendo and Iaido Italia podcast in this English language version. Enjoy listening.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty fundamental for anyone starting Iaido, that Japanese martial art all about drawing, cutting, and sheathing the sword smoothly. It's that initial choice, right? Do you go for the simple wooden Bokuto? Or do you jump straight in with the metal Iaito, the unsharpened practice katana?
Yeah, and it's a choice that often isn't just about what you want.
Exactly. Maybe you're thinking, wow, an Iaito is expensive. Or perhaps, like a lot of people, there are local rules about owning or even carrying something that looks like a sword. So we're going to break down the experience of an Iaito practitioner, a second Dan, who laid out, the good and the bad of starting with wood.
Right. Our goal here is to really understand the trade-offs. The Bokuto seems like the obvious, safe, easy start. But when does that comfort actually start to hurt your technique in the long run? That's the core question. It's about safety versus proper form.
Okay, let's tackle those early stages first. The beginner's hurdle, let's call it. Why is the Bokuto often seen as the key to getting started?
Well, it tackles some big initial barriers head on.
First off, there's the cost and commitment. I mean, a basic functional Iaido is, at least $300? Often more.
Easily. And for a niche art like Iaido, dropping that kind of cash right at the beginning, it's a big ask if you're not sure you'll stick with it.
That's a serious investment just to try something out.
And it's not just the buying price. Think about everything else. An Iaido needs maintenance, oiling, proper storage.
Traveling with it, too, can be tricky depending on where you live.
Exactly. Concealment, legal worries maybe. A Bokuto. It's cheap, throw it in a bag. If it breaks, you get another one. It lets you focus on the practice first.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It lowers the barrier to entry significantly.
Which ties into the second point, weight and physical adjustment.
Ah, yes. The wooden Iaito Bokuto is much, much lighter than the metal Iaito. Why is that so critical early on?
Because good Iaito technique comes from your core, your hips, your legs, not your arms.
Right.
But beginners, they almost always try to muscle the sword around using their shoulders and arms.
I can see that. It feels intuitive to use your arms for a sword.
It does, but it's wrong. And if you try that muscling with a heavy Iaido right away, especially if you're, not used to that kind of specific movement,
you're setting yourself up for pain.
Shoulder strain, elbow issues, inflammation. It's almost guaranteed you're fighting the weight incorrectly.
So the lighter Bokuto isn't just about making it easier. It's about preventing injury and bad habits from forming right at the start.
Precisely. It lets you learn the basic shapes, the sequence of the kata, without immediately overloading joints that aren't ready or using the wrong muscles. Think of it like training wheels for the body mechanics.
Okay, cost, physical strain. What's the third big advantage?
The most obvious one, really. Safety.
A wooden stick versus a metal, even if unsharpened, metal object. Seems straightforward.
It is, but think about why. The Iaito's tip, the Kazaki, it's still very pointed. Unsharpened doesn't mean harmless.
You could definitely poke someone's eye out or punch a hole in the wall.
Easily.
Yeah.
Especially with thrusts.
Yeah.
Or if you lose your grip. In a crowded dojo, or if you're practicing at home, maybe you have kids, pets running around.
Yeah, the risk profile changes dramatically.
The Bokuto is thicker, blunter, lighter. The chances of a serious accident are just drastically lower.
And our source, the second Dan, mentioned starting with a Bokuto specifically because they hadn't yet grasped the actual length and reach of the sword.
That's a huge point. Spatial awareness takes time to develop. Knowing exactly where that tip is during a fast movement, it's not instant.
The Bokuto gives you a safer learning curve for that awareness.
It does. So for those first few months, it manages cost, physical strain, and immediate danger. It's a fantastic tool.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Always. This is where the conversation shifts. If it's so good, why doesn't everyone just stick with the Bokuto?
Okay, so you've decided you're serious about Iaido. You've passed the initial phase. Why does the Bokuto suddenly become a problem?
Because the very things that made it helpful initially start to ingrain bad habits.
Right.
It becomes a technical liability.
How so? What are the main issues?
We can break it down into three key areas where the wood actively works against proper technique for a real sword.
All right. Lay them out for us.
Problem number one, the size discrepancy. Simply put, the wooden Iaito Bokuto is thicker, often wider, just generally bulkier than a proper Iaito or a sharp katana.
Okay, it's thicker. But we're talking wood versus metal. How much difference can that really make? Millimeters, right?
Millimeters matter enormously in Iaido. Because the Bokuto is thicker, the opening of its sheath, The kokuchi also has to be bigger to accommodate it.
Oh, okay.
So all the fine motor control involved in drawing, nukitsuke, and sheathing, dato, especially feeling the blade aligned with sapaya, it's based on that thicker profile and wider opening.
You're building muscle memory for the wrong dimensions.
Exactly. When you finally pick up the slimmer, sleeker Iaito, everything feels off. The source said it felt completely different. The clearances are wrong. The feedback is wrong. You have to relearn those precise movements.
That makes sense. Your hand expects one thing but gets another. What's the second problem?
This one's about the grip, the tenuchi problem. Tenuchi's all about how you hold the sword the specific way your hands apply pressure.
And how does the Bokuto mess that up?
Most Bokuto have just a plain wooden handle. They lack tsukumaki.
That's the wrapping, right? The diamond pattern cord wrap you see on katana handles.
Precisely. And that tsukumaki isn't just for looks or basic grip. It's functional. The texture, the specific diamond shapes, they're designed to fit the palm and fingers just so.
To give you better purchase.
Better purchase, yes, but also subtle control and feedback. The wrapping provides a bit of cushion. It conforms slightly to your hand. It helps manage vibration and torque when you simulate a cut.
Okay. And the bare wood of the Bokuto.
It's smooth, hard, and uniform. Your hand learns to grip that. It feels different. It slides differently. It doesn't provide the same tactile cues for adjusting pressure.
So you develop the wrong feel for how to hold and manipulate the sword.
You develop an incorrect tenuchi. You might grip too hard to compensate for the smoothness, or your hand position might be slightly off because it's conforming to bare wood, not the contours of the wrap. Over time, this subtly changes your entire kata.
Interesting. So the handle itself teaches you incorrectly.
It does.
Yeah.
But the third point, this is the big one, the most critical and frankly the most dangerous issue in the long run.
More dangerous than developing a bad grip.
Much more. It concerns the act of sheathing the sword, the noto. This is the sheathing and drawing mechanics, noto problem.
All right, you've got my attention. How does this safer wooden tool make sheathing more dangerous? That sounds completely backwards.
It is a paradox, but it's real. Let's think about proper noto technique with an Iaido or katana.
Okay.
Your left hand guides the blade into the sheath, the saya. The correct way involves placing the base of your thumb and the fleshy part of your palm right over the koikuchi, the mouth of the sheath.
So your hand is literally covering the opening.
Almost completely hiding it, yes. Your hand acts as a guide and a shield, ensuring the blade tip enters smoothly and precisely, preventing it from slicing your own hand as it goes in.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it requires incredible precision and nerve if the blade were sharp.
It requires absolute control and correct technique. Now, here's the problem with the Bokuto. Because it's so much thicker.
I think I see where this is going.
When a beginner tries that correct close contact noto with a thick Bokuto and its wider koikuchi, what happens?
Does it pinch?
Painfully. The wood jams the knuckle of the thumb or the fleshy part of the hand against the edge of the wooden koikuchi. It gets squeezed hard.
Ouch. Yeah, I can picture that, like getting your finger caught in a door jamb.
Exactly like that. It hurts. And what's the natural human reaction to sharp, sudden pain?
Pull away. Avoid the thing causing the pain.
Precisely. So the trainee instinctively learns to not put their hand correctly over the koikuchi. They open their hand up, pull it slightly away, create a gap.
To avoid the painful squeeze from the thick wood.
Yes. They develop a habit of leaving space around the koikuchi during nato.
Okay, hold on. This is the critical part, isn't it? That habit pulling the hand away for clearance to avoid the Bokuto pinch?
Go on.
That's exactly what would get your hand sliced open if you did it with a sharp blade.
Bingo. That's the dangerous paradox. The only way to safely sheath a sharp katana is to keep that hand tightly guiding and shielding the koikuchi, maintaining control right until the end.
By pulling your hand away to avoid the Bokuto's pinch, you're training yourself to lose that critical final control needed for a real blade.
You're ingraining a fundamentally unsafe movement pattern because the safe training tool punishes the correct safe technique. If your hand isn't properly shielding the opening, the slightest wobble as the blade enters can cause the edge to nick or slice your fingers or palm.
Wow. That's a really powerful insight. The safety tool creates an unsafe habit.
And it doesn't just create a safety risk, it also ruins the technique itself. Proper noto needs to be fluid, smooth, almost effortless.
But if you're flinching or hesitating to avoid the pinch?
Your noto becomes jerky, hesitant. It breaks the rhythm and flow of the entire kata. So the Bokuto, used for too long, actively prevents you from learning smooth, safe, and correct sheathing.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. What's the final verdict for someone listening, trying to decide what path to take?
It's nuanced, isn't it?
Definitely seems that way. The Iaido Bokuto isn't bad. In fact, it sounds almost essential at the very beginning.
Absolutely. For the first few months, maybe even up to 6, depending on the person and their training frequency, it's brilliant. It gets you past the initial hurdles, the cost commitment, the initial physical strain, and the immediate risks of handling something long and potentially pointy.
It buys you time to learn the basics safely and affordably.
Correct. And it's a big but. The moment you decide, yes, I want to pursue Iaido seriously, the Bokuto starts working against you.
Because you start solidifying those bad habits we just talked about.
The incorrect feel for the size, the wrong grip dynamics from the bare wood handle, and most critically, that dangerous habit in the nodo caused by avoiding the pinch.
So the transition to a proper Iaito, or even a katana, if regulations and skill allow, needs to happen sooner rather than later, once you're committed.
As soon as you reasonably can, considering finances and local laws. Otherwise, you're just digging yourself into a deeper hole of incorrect muscle memory that becomes much harder and potentially riskier to fix later on.
It's about recognizing the Bokuto for what it is. An excellent introductory tool, but one with a definite expiration date for effective training.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. Consider how deeply the physical nature of our tools shapes us. It's not just about learning movements, it's about how the tool itself teaches our body, sometimes in ways we don't immediately recognize. That painful pinch from the Bokuto during nodo. Maybe the real lesson isn't just the pain, but the discipline required to overcome the instinct to pull away. Maybe learning to perform the correct nodo despite the Bokuto's awkwardness is the first step in training the focus and control you absolutely need to handle a live blade safely later on. The correct technique, the safe one, is initially punished by the training tool, forcing a higher level of conscious control right from the start.
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Kendo Iaido Italia, il podcast.